from an advisor's standpoint, that's the selling point right there of why is this index so appealing, is because it can work in conjunction with the strategy that they may already have. So yes,
Absolutely.
they love the S&P 500. Great. Don't change anything about that except maybe how much you're allocating towards it. And then another strategy that falls in line with this is going to work side by side with it. And maybe it won't have the same ups and downs, the same peaks and valleys, but that's sort of the point, right?
Exactly. I mean, I'm all about diversification. Totally. I became an academic, so I'm already diversified. But here's the thing. I'm not saying you should put 100% of your wealth in this index. What I'm saying is it acts as a good diversifier. It's supposed to have similar returns like the market, but with very, very low correlation and low volatility. So I think it's a very attractive it's a very attractive addition to your portfolio. Not to mention that I think it's also very explainable. You can talk to anyone about this index because it relates to our daily conversations. Anything that is affecting our lives today in terms of the macroeconomy, whether it's labor market or inflation, these are things that every household talks about, right? And what this index does, it tracks exactly those discussions. So you know exactly what you're investing in. It's not like a black box. We measure it, and then we trade the assets that are correlated with our measured narratives.
And that's the science component of it that I globbed onto when you were talking to me probably the first time we met. Was I can say that it's hot outside. Well, that's kind of subjective. Well, if you give me a temperature, it's 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, now we're speaking the same language. Now I have scale and scope. Now I understand this a little bit. So is that sort of the secret sauce for what you guys have here? Is that percentage and that metric, that's still to be named metric, by the way, I'm going to point that out, but that metric and why that makes it so explainable for your average advisor or financial professional?
Yeah, I think there's two things. One, yes, the measurement is very important. I completely agree with you. Without measuring it well, we wouldn't be able to calculate correlations and track the index.
And it would just be feel. I feel like they're talking about this, and there's no real...
Exactly. So I think it's not just, yes, it's feel, but it's feel about things that matter to you and you understand them. You already have a preconception notion about the war that is happening with Iran, or the tariffs, or whether it's hard to get a job these days. That's something that you can relate to. Mm-hmm. It's not only that. I think it's a truly, this is the true driver of the economics. That's what's happening. And so security prices are moving because of these macroeconomic variables. So we understand what these are. You relate to them. We know now how to measure them. And with these two components together, it's a very different conversation. And I think it gives people a solution to something they just didn't have. It's not just retirees this is how the market works.
Yeah. So
I think we're sitting here on something much bigger than that. But I think as a product, it's great because it's a systematic way to express this idea that narratives move the market, and there's some predictability because people have limited attention and they can't respond to all the narratives at once. So that's something underlying the economics of why we see performance for the strategy is, yes, narratives drive the market, but not everyone is able to track so many narratives in their head.
It's the echo chamber concept of you watch your own news sources until you think that's what's dominating the market.
It's that.
Dominating the news cycle.
It's that, and you can't pay attention to too many things. People have work, they have families, that you just can't pay attention to too many things. I can maybe pay attention to 3 to 5 things at any given point. And I think that's high.
5? That seems high. 5
So think
is
about tracking so many narratives.
Yeah.
So what this system does is it automatically tracks all the narratives in the background. You might not have time to look at that. You're not aware. You're looking at one source, as you said, or just, you have other things, you're busy. This, you don't need to worry. This automatically tracks a million articles every day and tells you what is the world talking about. And when you see a trend slowly moving up, that's when automatically the strategy picks up. And because we think it takes time for the market to respond, that's where you see the performance.
One thing you touched on when we had our pre-call was, and to your point right now about what people are talking about, it's capturing what people are talking about, even if it's false.
Yes.
Shine a light on that for me a little bit.
Because I've received this question so many times. Look, there's two different approaches. One approach is, let's be the first to the news and trade it first. Mm-hmm. Okay, like first mover advantage, right? And there's so many people in the industry that have done really well there. High frequency trading, right? And then you try to cut the time till you get the information. And you want to be the first one to get the news. And then you co-locate and you put your computer next to this news source, all of that. And for that, you really need to be sure that the information is correct. What we're trying to do is we're trying to track what's the narrative, what's moving the market. If there's a false news and there's a false narrative, but it moves the market, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
So what this system does, it's not really capturing what news is correct. It's just trying to understand what is. Like what are people talking about? Even there might be a false narrative. But to the extent that even false narratives move markets, we're going to be ahead of that. That's the point. It's all about placing the strategy on narratives that are moving up, even if these narratives are false. If so many sources are playing the same narrative, then that's what we're going to capture, even if everyone is wrong.
For more impactful conversations, click here. And to subscribe to our YouTube channel, click here. And would it kill you to watch a House Rules? They're great, and they're right here.